Tonight, Senator Mike Nicholas says GovGuam is falling behind in paying tax refunds again. GovGuam has already used $16 million from this fiscal year's revenues to pay tax refunds for last fiscal year. It's a trend that could put the government back into the position it was before GovGuam borrowed hundreds of millions of dollars on the bond market to pay past due tax refunds.
You cannot borrow your way out of a spending problem. And we're seeing that starting to manifest itself today.
Back in 2011, Governor Eddie Calvo pushed for and got legislative authorization to borrow about $200 million to pay out tax refunds. Then, in 2012, another $100 million was borrowed for tax refunds. The idea was that this would allow GovGuam to pay off prior year's tax refunds, so GovGuam could start with a blank slate and begin paying its refunds in a timely manner. However, now GovGuam seems to be slipping behind with refund payments again. In fact, the government used $16 million from this fiscal year's collections, which are supposed to pay for this fiscal year's tax refunds, to instead pay the prior year's tax refunds.
And sadly, what happens is money comes in and it's used to catch up. The trends are very alarming, and until we get our spending habits under control, we're going to continue to trend downwards in those kind of priority areas.
In 2014, $14 million in tax refunds had been paid out by this time. In 2015, $3 million had been paid out by this time. This year, $0 has been paid out for this fiscal year's tax refunds.
It looks like the Department of Administration is behind about $21 million today in deposits into the tax refund trust account. And that's where they're supposed to get the money to pay tax refunds.
Because of this, Senator Nicholas has written the newly appointed acting director of DOA, Christine Boleto, telling her that he will withhold her nomination until the right amount of money is deposited into the tax refund trust account. The senator says based on the reported revenues for the first 4 months of this fiscal year, there should have been $37.4 million deposited into the tax refund trust account, but only $16 million was deposited. That $16 million was then used to pay tax refunds for the prior fiscal year and not this fiscal year.